It's a nightmare. I can't believe it. I wasn't a big fan, really, I wasn't a fan at all of G&L. I always thought you might as well just get the Fender. That's how I felt about the brand, about their guitars. But the very worst possible thing that could have conceivably happened for our hobby has happened. And it wasn't that G&L went away. It was what happened after slash during its spin down. As some of you might be aware, Leo Fender, kind of the godfather of modern guitar instrument manufacturing and design, electric guitar design and all that. He had Fender, the guitar brand. And in the mid-'60s, he looked around and he said, whoa, I've got almost 20 buildings. I have all these employees. I have millions of dollars worth of orders. I have on and on health problems, off and on health problems. I can't do this anymore. I have to sell. So he sold Fender, the brand, to CBS. And the rest is history as far as Fender is concerned. He started doing some work under his own brand for Music Man. Then he formed G&L. And he basically continued what he always had done, which, funny enough, the man didn't play the guitar, but he was designing them. So he took each of his ideas to their logical conclusion and continued innovating them under the G&L name. This isn't a swan song for G&L. This isn't a major G&L fan being upset that G&L is gone. Shame on me, but I couldn't care less about the brand. If I never own one, I don't really care. I'm not saying anything bad about the brand. I just don't care. That's not my angle. Here's my angle. As this all happened, there was an elephant in the room regarding G&L. The elephant was Fender. What is Fender going to do? They did the most unconfirmed reports are telling us that Fender has purchased G&L's assets, including the greatest asset. Fender has purchased and filed the trademark for Leo Fender. The name, the likeness. So a man builds a company, changes the whole world, sells the company, starts a new company, and then decades and decades and decades later, the company he sold now owns his likeness? His name? I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And what does this mean, though? Think about Fender marketing, basically ever in modern history. They never really talked about Leo. They talked about the Strat. They talked about the Telly. They talked about the Jaguar. They talked about the Jazzmaster. They talked about all of these different guitar models, and they might have mentioned him here and there, but he was never like a big part of their branding and marketing. The guitars were the main character. It was because they couldn't legally do it. And why would they? I mean, they operated for, it's now 60 years without the man being involved. So why would they talk about him? And they couldn't. They weren't allowed to. But now they are. And in an absolutely sickening display of inhumanity, I brought receipts, guys. Check this out. So we're on Fender's website, and just to prove to you that I'm not making this up, let's refresh it. Fender's website, everything looks normal, right? I mean, there's their new California Standard Series. I don't know anything about this yet. We might talk about it, we might not. Scroll down, you see the normal stuff, holiday gift guide, gifts for all different kinds of people. Oh boy. But then you get here. This is new. On the front page of Fender's website, check this out. Let's zoom in. The world's leading guitar manufacturer. What do we have here? An American icon, nearly 7 decades since founder Leo Fender. So, here's what's mind-boggling to me. Now, maybe this is a damned if they do and damned if they don't situation, because I've made complaints about Fender not leaning on their legacy before, but their sales pitch to you as a customer. First, it's the barrage of product. Let's look at it again. Barrage of product. Product. But why? I don't see anything that tells me why yet. Just that the products exist, right? Why is this a must-have? Must-haves for every player. Why is this a must-have? We don't know. No sales pitch, no sales pitch, no sales pitch. Sales pitch number 1. Financing. Sales pitch number 2. The year 1946 and the name Leo Fender. They're saying to you, this man hasn't been part of our company for 60 years. Our sales pitch to you is something that this man did over 60 years ago. Not this model that we just released and why it's good. Not this model we released 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. None of that. The pitch is 0% financing over 36 months. And Leo Fender was a cool guy who made cool things. It's shameless and disgusting to me. If they had been talking about him and elevating him to the pedestal that he deserves to be on, by the way, if they'd been doing that all this time, that's one thing. I can live with that. I can live with this. But the fact that all of a sudden his last thing dies, they buy his name and his life. I can't wrap my head around that part of it. And then they immediately start using him like this. It's disgusting. Think of all the things that Fender did in the 70s that everybody hates. They're now tying Leo Fender to that. Things in the 80s that they made that people hated. I was in one of my guitar groups just now, and everybody was laughing and making fun of what they're calling the worst trem system that Fender ever made, or the worst trem system ever. See if I can still have it on my cached on my phone. I don't. But it was this really hilariously bad trem system on a Fender. They're putting all of that in the same bucket as Leo, and that's not right. How can they do this? Most people don't care. Those that do will get ignored. And those that do and agree with Fender are just shouting into the echo chamber. I bet our Fender is super excited right now. I bet most of these Fender guitar communities are super excited right now. And it's just heartbreaking. What if this YouTube channel, right? What if I sold my YouTube channel to somebody else, and then 60 years from now, over the course of the next 60 years, they start making pro Chibson videos, and they start making, everything Fender does is perfect. I love the sound of amp sims. I love the sound of digital stuff. I hate Gibson. All of Gibson stuff is all terrible. What if they said stuff like that for 60 years? And then 60 years from now, they buy my name and start putting my name next to all that stuff that they had said over the last 60 years. It's not brand consistent, and it's just disgusting and wrong. I don't really know what the point of this video is, other than I had to say something about it. I'm in a weird position because a lot of people that are mourning, it's because they love G&L and they are really upset. And like, that's fair. I get it. There's brands that I like that other people don't really care for all that much, like Peavey. I really like Peavey, and I shouldn't be. I mean, their guitars aren't great now. Their amps are all made in China now, for the most part, and even in their heyday, it was the budget musicians' gear, and so even in their heyday, it wasn't considered great stuff. So I understand why these people are so upset about G&L going away. I get it. I'm not a fan. Like I said, why would I get G&L when I could get a Fender, an older Fender? I just like the Fender better. So this is really just bad for the guitar market. This is really just bad for our hobby and our interests. It's bad for honesty and integrity, too. And honestly, speaking of honesty and integrity, Fender screwed the pooch again. Are you really surprised?